Ever felt trapped in a relationship where nothing you do seems good enough? You might be dealing with a narcissist. Here's how they manipulate and break you down. Narcissists have a distinct and dangerous strategy to gain control over their partners, and it often begins with intense manipulation masked as affection and admiration. Love bombing is one of the most common tactics narcissists use at the beginning of a relationship. They shower their target with over-the-top compliments, grand gestures, and overwhelming affection. This creates a false sense of security and makes the victim feel incredibly special. The narcissist's actions seem genuine, but in reality, they are setting the stage for future manipulation. The victim, caught up in the whirlwind of attention, often ignores red flags and dismisses any concerns, believing they are truly cherished and adored. Once the narcissist has established a strong emotional bond, they move on to idealization. This phase sees the narcissist putting their partner on a pedestal, elevating them to a level of perfection. The victim feels incredibly valued and seen in ways they may have never experienced before. The narcissist makes their partner feel as if they are the most important person in the world, which is why it is so easy for the victim to fall deeper into the trap. Unfortunately, this sense of admiration is fleeting and artificial. The narcissist is not interested in genuine love or connection, but rather in making the victim feel special enough to keep them hooked. It is a tactic to gain trust and power. To tighten their grip, narcissists begin isolating the victim from their support system. Slowly, they start undermining the importance of friends and family, convincing their partner that these people are either untrustworthy or unsupportive. The narcissist may subtly create situations where the victim has to choose between them and their loved ones. Over time, the victim becomes more and more isolated, relying entirely on the narcissist for validation, affection, and companionship. The narcissist feeds off this dependency, knowing that a person who is cut off from their social circle is more likely to tolerate mistreatment and seek approval from the one person they have left, the narcissist. Once the narcissist has gained control over their victim, they must maintain it. One of the most insidious methods they use is gaslighting. This involves manipulating the victim into questioning their own perception of reality. The narcissist might deny things they've said or done, insist that the victim is imagining things, or twist the truth to make them feel as if they are losing their mind. The victim begins to doubt their own memory, instincts, and judgment. The more the narcissist does this, the more the victim becomes dependent on their version of events. This creates confusion, self-doubt, and emotional turmoil, which keeps the victim in a state of constant uncertainty and vulnerability. Another key tactic used by narcissists to maintain control is triangulation. This is when the narcissist intentionally introduces a third party, often someone they are flirting with or emotionally involved with, to stir up jealousy or insecurity in their partner. The narcissist might tell their partner that someone else finds them attractive, or that they are not as important as they think they are. The goal is to make the victim feel inadequate and jealous, driving them to try even harder to gain the narcissist's approval. This tactic not only creates emotional chaos, but also forces the victim into a constant state of competition for the narcissist's affection. Finally, narcissists rely heavily on blame-shifting to maintain power in the relationship. They will never take responsibility for their own faults or mistakes. Instead, they find ways to make their partner feel guilty for things that aren't their fault. If there's an argument or a problem in the relationship, the narcissist will twist the situation, turning the blame on the victim. The victim ends up feeling responsible for the narcissist's behavior, whether it's emotional outbursts, dishonesty, or cruelty. This constant shifting of blame ensures that the narcissist never has to confront their own shortcomings, while the victim bears the emotional weight of the relationship's dysfunction. Once the narcissist has successfully gained control over their partner, they begin a slow and methodical process of devaluation. This phase often comes as a shock because it contradicts everything the victim experienced in the idealization phase. The narcissist begins to criticize, belittle, and reject their partner. The compliments and adoration turn into insults and cold indifference. The victim, who was once placed on a pedestal, is now made to feel inferior and unworthy. This gradual devaluation erodes their self-esteem and makes them believe they are not good enough for the narcissist or for anyone else. The inconsistency in behavior, the emotional highs followed by deep lows, leaves the victim confused, desperate for the affection they once received. The narcissist's behavior is not a reflection of the victim's worth, but rather a tactic to maintain control and keep them in a constant state of emotional turmoil. As the emotional roller coaster continues, the victim often experiences emotional exhaustion. The constant ups and downs create a chaotic environment that is mentally and physically draining. The narcissist's unpredictable behavior causes the victim to feel like they are walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next outburst or criticism will come. This emotional exhaustion leads to confusion, making it difficult for the victim to think clearly or make rational decisions. They are caught in a cycle of trying to please the narcissist, only to be met with rejection and criticism. The toll this takes on the victim's mental health is profound, as they lose their ability to trust their instincts and feel emotionally drained. Over time, the victim may experience a loss of identity. The narcissist's consistent manipulation and devaluation causes the victim to question their worth and their sense of self. They begin to doubt their abilities, opinions, and even their appearance. The constant need to meet the narcissist's unrealistic expectations leaves them disconnected from who they truly are. Victims of narcissistic abuse often lose sight of their own desires, values, and needs because they have been conditioned to prioritize the narcissist's wants over their own. As they lose their sense of self, they become more dependent on the narcissist for validation, making it even harder to escape the relationship. The first step in breaking free from a narcissist is recognizing the signs of manipulation and emotional abuse. Understanding the tactics narcissists use to control their victims is crucial in breaking the cycle. Once a person becomes aware of the unhealthy dynamics, they can begin to reclaim their power. This often requires distancing oneself from the narcissist, whether it is through physical separation or setting strict emotional boundaries. It may feel impossible to leave, especially when the narcissist uses guilt, threats, or promises of change. But recognizing the abuse is the first step toward breaking free. Setting boundaries is essential in reclaiming control. A person must establish clear lines to protect their emotional well-being. This might involve cutting off contact, blocking the narcissist on social media, or seeking professional help. Therapists and support groups can provide valuable guidance and encouragement throughout the healing process. Speaking with others who have experienced narcissistic abuse can help the victim understand that they are not alone and that recovery is possible. Healing is not a quick process, and it requires patience and self-compassion. The road to recovery is long and often filled with setbacks. Rebuilding self-worth after narcissistic abuse requires time, support, and commitment. Victims may need to work through feelings of guilt, shame, and confusion that were instilled by the narcissist. Therapy, journaling, and self-reflection can help individuals reconnect with their true selves and develop a strong sense of self-worth. Slowly but surely, they can begin to trust themselves again and create healthier relationships in the future. Narcissists leave deep emotional scars, but it is important to remember that healing is possible. Recovery from narcissistic abuse is a long journey, but with the right support, tools, and mindset, victims can rebuild their lives and reclaim their self-worth. The emotional damage caused by narcissistic relationships should never be underestimated. But with time and dedication, it is possible to heal and grow stronger. If you recognize these signs in your own relationship or know someone who is dealing with narcissistic abuse, it is crucial to seek support. Reflect on your relationship and consider whether it is healthy for your emotional well-being. Reach out to a therapist or a support group to begin the healing process. Remember, you are not alone, and there is hope for a brighter, healthier future.